They said Triple H was the game changer, the savior of WWE's creative direction, the man who would finally put wrestlers first after decades of cold corporate mismanagement. They said he was different from Vince, that he understood the grind, the locker room, the long nights and the broken bones. They said he cared. But what you're about to hear will shatter every single illusion you've ever believed about the so-called creative renaissance under Triple H's regime. Because behind the curtain, behind the carefully curated PR machine and hollow speeches about respecting the business, Triple H was plotting one of the most ruthless, methodical betrayals WWE has ever executed against one of its own. This isn't just about a release or a cutback. This is about Liv Morgan, an underdog who climbed every mountain they said she couldn't, who survived the fallout of the Riot Squad, who pushed through injury after injury just to prove she belonged. A woman who gave WWE some of its most raw, heartfelt, and passionate moments in recent memory. And what was her reward? Not a farewell, not a quiet exit. She was fired. Not laid off, not mutually parted ways, but fired, cut out like a liability, and not for budgetary reasons, not for creative direction, but because she dared to know her worth. This wasn't just business. This was an execution, carried out in boardrooms and whispered meetings long before Liv ever saw it coming. Let me explain how deep this betrayal really goes. WWE didn't just decide one day that Liv Morgan no longer fit the plan. They orchestrated a multi-layered illusion over nearly 2 years, promoting her, giving her high-profile matches, feeding her into the Judgment Day storyline, placing the women's world title around her waist, all under the pretense that they were investing in her as a long-term asset. But they weren't. It was a financial trap. A corporate setup designed to raise her market value just high enough so that when her contract renewal came up, she'd have the leverage to demand a deal commensurate with a main event star. And that's exactly what they didn't want. According to sources inside WWE, people who have risked their own careers to leak this, Triple H and his executive team had no intention of retaining her once those numbers came into play. They deliberately elevated her status not to reward her, but to justify gutting her when the price got too high. It's sinister. They played her like a pawn, pushed her forward, let her believe she'd made it, only to yank the floor out from under her at the peak of her career. One source described it as corporate chess, with Liv never even realizing she was the sacrificial piece. Triple H, the man who once championed NXT as a haven for real wrestling, has now revealed himself to be just another suit with a bottom-line mindset. But it's what happened in the room where it was decided that will make your stomach turn. On a quiet Tuesday morning, inside the glass-walled office of WWE headquarters, Triple H sat at the head of the table flanked by Nick Khan and a circle of high-ranking executives. Liv Morgan's name was written in bold at the top of the agenda. Reports from insiders say Triple H leaned back in his chair and flatly said, "Liv's asking for main event money." He claimed she was overvaluing herself based on her title run and her push with Judgment Day. Nick Khan pulled out a spreadsheet, yes, a literal spreadsheet, with metrics on her merchandise sales, social media stats, rating spikes. And even though she exceeded expectations across the board, they had already made the call. "She's good," Triple H allegedly said. "But she's not break-the-bank good. We can replace her." Let those words sink in. This is a woman who bled for this company, who stood tall when booking. Failed her, who made moments out of scraps. And she was dismissed as replaceable, disposable, unworthy of fair compensation. And it didn't end there. They didn't just choose not to renew her contract. They planned her firing strategically, months before her deal was even set to expire, just to avoid entering into real negotiations or offering any severance. Worse, they began systematically building a case to terminate her, for cause, by weaponizing WWE's internal performance review system against her. Where most wrestlers receive quarterly or even annual feedback, Liv Morgan was subjected to weekly evaluations. Think about that. Weekly. Microscopic critiques on her facial expressions, her ring entrance posture, the timing of her signature moves. Things that had never been problems before were now documented as concerns. They were crafting a paper trail, setting her up to be terminated under the guise of performance issues even as she continued to deliver consistently strong performances on live television. It was a slow-motion ambush, a psychological assault designed to break her down from the inside until she doubted herself entirely. Sources say that by the final weeks, Liv was visibly shaken, constantly questioning whether she was good enough, whether she belonged. The mental toll of the pressure campaign had already done its damage before the firing blow was struck. And when the axe finally fell, it was delivered with surgical cruelty. On a Friday afternoon, deliberately chosen so she'd be isolated over the weekend with no support, Triple H had someone call her. He didn't even face her himself. No final meeting, no handshake, no eye contact, a phone call. After years of loyalty, service, and sacrifice, he discarded her like office furniture. And the words he reportedly used in that call are stomach-churning. "This is a business decision," he told her. "We don't feel you're meeting the standards we need at your level." No grace, no honesty, just gaslighting and corporate jargon. To add insult to injury, he offered her the opportunity to do a series of losses on the way out, to put over other talent by being squashed. Liv declined. And when she did, Triple H finally revealed the real reason. "You were asking for more money than we're willing to pay," he said coldly. That was it. It was never about performance. It was about money. About control. About reminding everyone in WWE who holds the power. And if you think this ends with Liv Morgan, think again. This was never about one superstar. This was a message sent loud and clear to the entire roster. Ask for too much, and you'll be next. Wrestlers who were preparing to renegotiate their contracts are now second-guessing their leverage. The women's division is reportedly in disarray. Several top female talents have already reached out to their reps to explore options elsewhere, unwilling to sit around and wait for their own Liv Morgan moment. WWE has built a machine that thrives on fan forgetfulness. They believe that you, the fans, will forget in a few weeks. That they'll push another woman, slap a belt on her, and you'll chant just as loudly. That you'll move on, as you always do. But this time should be different. Because this wasn't just business. This wasn't just a tough call. This was premeditated career assassination. This was WWE showing their true face behind the curtain. A machine that praises loyalty until it becomes expensive. That pushes talent until they gain power, then pulls them under to protect the bottom line. Liv Morgan didn't just get fired. She got sacrificed. And if fans let it slide, if wrestlers stay silent, then the message is clear: no one is safe. Not even the ones who give everything they've got.